For most standard storyboards, it's quick and easy to sketch your thumbnails on one layer, do your tie downs or finished art on another layer, and you can color in your tones on any layer underneath your finished line. But if you want to animate a layer, you need to combine your fill and your line work on the same layer. Let me show you what I mean by this. So let's say I want to color in and give this kid on the left here a blue diaper. And I am working on panel 14 of scene 1. So I'm going to grab my brush here, and on my tone layer, I'm going to let's grab my marker, make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to grab a dark blue. So I'm going to go ahead and color in right here, and once I let go, it drops back behind the line because it's on a lower layer. Here you can see I can turn on and off that layer. All right, so that looks great. But if I want to animate this character, which is on layer A, you can see his line work, I can grab my first frame transform tool here, and if I drag the character over, whoops, my coloring's not going with it. That's a problem. So I'm going to turn off this tone. So we need to have the coloring on the same layer as that character in order for the coloring to move with it. And Storyboard Pro gives me a great tool to work with that. So I'm going to select my brush tool, and I'm going to come over here, and underneath my brush presets, there's this really weird looking icon here of a dark line with an orange line behind it. That's called draw behind. So I'm going to click and select that, and it gets this blue square around it. So now on the same layer that I've selected as the baby, now I'm going to come in and I'm going to color in this blue. But notice I'm going over the line, so the line kind of turns blue underneath. As soon as I let go, it drops back behind the line. So that's our draw behind. So now if I go to my first frame transform tool again and I grab this kid and I move it, hey, the color is moving with it. So now I can animate that and all the colors and tones move along with it. So some people are going to ask, well, why didn't you just do a drop fill? Well, there's a couple reasons. Let's take a look at drop fills really quickly here. So for drop fill, this is a bitmap layer, as you can tell by the corner up here. Oh, there's my paint bucket. It's grayed out. You can't do a drop fill in a bitmap layer. Now, if I select this other kid, which is in a vector layer, let's say I'll grab a really light blue. Now my paint bucket is available. I'm going to select it and drop right into his eye. It's a beautiful fill. It works great. There is a problem with trying to do a drop fill, even on a vector layer, though, if your layer is drawn with a textured line. So let's grab our paintbrush tool and grab a thin line, just a 25 pixel line. I'll grab a black color, and I'm just going to draw a circle up here. Let's zoom in a little bit on that circle so we can see it. So I'm going to grab my paint bucket, my drop fill there. I'm going to grab a green color, and I'm going to drop fill. And that's what we call a halo, which is that white around it, because the textured line goes from dark in the middle to white on the edge. And the drop fill will only go to the edge of what it perceives with those pixels. So we're not able to get a really good drop fill that goes all the way to the edge. That's why I hand fill in the colors when I'm working with any textured line or a bitmap layer. Okay, so let's zoom back out here and recenter the image. So let's say that I want to add a shadow to this kid's blue diaper. So I'm going to select his layer again. I'm going to grab my paintbrush. I still have my draw behind selected. I'm going to grab that blue color, but I'm going to make it now a darker blue here. So I'm going to come and I'm going to draw this in, and then, wait a minute, most of it disappeared. Now some of it's still there because the blue was actually somewhat transparent. But draw behind goes behind every color. If I want the full dark blue to show up, I actually have to turn off my draw behind. Now when I come in and I'm doing it, and I'm actually going over my line work a little bit, it stays on top, but it stays on top of the black line as well. So it's harder to do additive colors with draw behind. So as long as you plan what you're doing, it's going to work great. It is a super tool to help us fill in layers that need to be animated where the color and tone needs to stay with the layer that you're moving.